Hello, you're listening to the Saluki Gamescast. My name is Justin Young. This is episode 44 for May 5th, 2023. Joining me,
the 5th.
Joining me as always, Alicia's throwing me completely off. Are OJ Duncan, Alicia Utecht, who's just a troublemaker, as we've now established.
What can I say?
And Ryan Freels. How are you all doing?
Oh, it's that time of the semester.
So I'm doing pretty well. A lot of my end of the semester work is already done, so I feel pretty good. I do want to make a notice for the listeners. I may sound really stuffed up today. I had an experience this morning. So I have really bad allergies, and I take Claritin and Zyrtec, sometimes Benadryl if they're bad, and I use Flonase as a nose spray, and I have eye drops that is called Zadador. Well, there's a new type of nose spray called Astapro, and I looked online and it said you can take it with Flonase, and they wouldn't really do anything. So I sprayed my nose with the Astapro for the first time this morning, and my nose started stinging a little bit, and then I sneezed and it was all blood. So I'm a little worse off today than I was before I took the Astapro.
Were you scared when, all blood came out?
Or did you just think you were having a 2000s anime moment?
I was just nervous. It's fine. Yeah, no. So I've experienced nosebleeds before because I take so much stuff for allergies all the time. I can get pretty dry a bit in there. It hasn't happened for a long time though, and it was a lot right at first, but it stopped pretty quickly. But I've sneezed a couple of times today, and it's been bloody. So I had to warn everybody here in the room that it was happening, and I wanted to warn the readers. If you hear a sneeze or just notice that I don't sound well, it's my fault.
Or if he just kills over during the middle of the podcast, you now know what's happening.
Yeah.
We're not calling 911. We're grad students. We can't afford the ambulance.
Right. You can just walk me there.
Well, we can drive you. I do have my car here. I can drive you.
Okay. I didn't know about gas. It's expensive now.
And then Justin pulls an Amazon on us and makes us work through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's content. We're going to keep recording. I'll just take out my phone and we'll record on that, and we'll
Get the video up on the Saluki Games website.
Oh yeah, video OJ in the hospital. OJ's playing 2 Point Hospital for real this time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Ryan, how about you? How have you been?
Sleepy. I've been good. I've kind of been resting a lot this week because production week was a busy week, and so I've been resting a lot this one and just kind of going back and watching old Simpsons and middle Simpsons and newer Simpsons, and old Simpsons is still better, and yeah, not really much to say beyond recovering. So
yeah, we should talk about that briefly, at least. That you and Alicia were involved with a recent production, The Klein Now. Do either of you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah. So Dr. Alex Lockwood, I have to emphasize doctor because he
newly minted.
Yep, is this semester. He adapted and directed the production of After the Revolution, which is adapted from the novel by Robert Evans. And so we had that in the Kleinow last week at the end of the week, which was a lot of fun. The story is kind of cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic, kind of... I struggled to describe the story. I don't know. How would you describe the story?
It's very kind of Fallout-ish. I mean...
Yeah.
Put it in video game terms, right?
Yeah.
It is about augmentation of the body and everything, and in this sort of post-apocalypse, or at least post-society America.
Yeah. So it was a really good performance. I'm happy with the work that we did. I think that Alex is happy with how it all came together in the end. So it was a good time. It was a lot, though. It was a big cast show. I think, we have a cast of 9? So the whole process of preparing and rehearsing and getting everyone together. And then our lead actress broke her foot Friday, a week before the show opened.
Right.
So we had to work around that. But I think it all turned out really well.
Yeah, I went Friday night, and it was a good show. I think it is the largest cast I've ever seen in a Klein Now show. I mean, I haven't been to every show, obviously, but so that was kind of an interesting shift and change, and it was interesting. Like one of my students was in it, so that was kind of fun to see like a variety of different people that I know from different places.
Yeah, that was one of the really cool things. Like a lot of the performance studies grad students were there, but then also we had multiple undergrads who, we had a couple of them who are comm studies majors. We had a couple who we brought over from the theater department because of various connections to them. So it was really cool.
Great. So I went to a concert last weekend.
Today is National Concert Day. Oh my gosh.
Well, what a transition. Queen of transitions, Alicia.
What concert did you go to?
I went to see the Wallflowers. So Wallflowers of One Headlight fame, which pre-show they come out on stage. Somebody from the venue and is like talking to us about their accolades, and one of them was that One Headlight is the number 54 or something greatest pop song in history according to Rolling Stone, which everybody in the room just kind of turns and looks at each other like, really?
I love that it's number 54.
It was something like that. It was in the 50s is what I remember.
It's not in the top half, but it's real close.
Yeah, it's real close. I mean, it is a great pop song, but it's also one of those things you're like, wait, do I agree with that? Like, I'm here to see them. I think they're good, but do I agree with that? But my favorite moment of the entire show is, you always have one person who's had too much to drink before the show begins. Mm-hmm. And so the show begins, and there's a woman standing like a couple rows behind us, and she's just shouting, "I love you. We love you." And we're pretty far back, so like she's really shouting this to like have them on stage hear her. And so she does this for the first few songs, and finally Jacob Dylan, the lead singer, he responds and says, "Thank you, we love you too." And this is the most like Midwestern response, because then the woman shouts back, "You're welcome."
Oh my gosh, that's great.
And I was just like, oh, okay, well, at least you're like the polite drunk. Like, way to go, lady. But yeah, that was a fun experience. That was a band that I very much liked, at least those first two albums quite a bit. And getting to go see them live, it's always fun to see music live. At least I'm a big fan. Mm-hmm. So we are wrapping up. This is the last week of classes. Actually, I guess at this point, all classes are done. And next week is finals. So we are really wrapping up the end of the semester here. So why don't we just jump right into what you've been playing? Alicia, what have you been playing?
As we're in that time of the semester and everything around me is stressful, there's only one thing that calms me down, and that's Power Wash Sim. Now that I have the proper tools, I have everything I'm supposed to have. It is hilarious, honestly. Just, the whole thing is funny to me. The whole journey of like starting off and being like, but I don't have, this is a residential power washer. Why don't I have a industrial one when I'm supposed to be doing industrial work?
Right.
But it's also really funny to me, like, how invested I'm getting in it's a power washing simulator. What do you mean there's story? But then all of a sudden, like, I'm cleaning the monster truck and the person's texting like, oh yeah, here's all the theories about the missing cats, and some people are theorizing that they're doing this ritual and sacrificing them to the volcano. And I'm like, what? And then the one I'm working on now, I'm cleaning the fortune teller's like caravan thing, and I'm getting the messages pop up of like, oh crap, like the volcano's gonna, if that volcano blows, like this town's in real trouble. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, hang on, why am I so invested in the storyline for a Power Wash Simulator game?
Yeah, it's got a real interesting. I mean, just that there is a story, right, and that it does eventually pay off in some ways, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting that you even took the time and effort, right, to expand this into a sort of world, not just like random things I'm cleaning.
There's a world, like you know, you come back. I think last time we recorded, I was working on cleaning the carousel, and then you come back and you clean the Helter Skelter and you clean the caravan, and each time you can look around and see the things you've already cleaned, and I'm like, this is the instant gratification that I'm looking for in my life right now.
Yeah, I particularly like that part that you clean the first and then you come back and you're seeing the like kind of fair fill out and everything as you do it. I thought that was really kind of a clever way to approach that, because it did make you feel like a sense of progression, right? Instead of just random objects that you're cleaning.
Mm-hmm. And then you're like hearing from, you know, when you're cleaning the carousel, you're hearing from the guy who has the Helter Skelter. And then when you're cleaning that, you hear from the lady who has the carousel.
Yeah.
And so just having those connections is just so beyond what I would have expected for a Power Wash Simulator.
Are you finding it a very relaxing experience? I mean, here, you know, obviously, as we talked about with the play going on and then the final week of classes, is it a good go-to relaxer for you?
It is. Oh my gosh. It's so nice. I don't have to really think. I can just do it and just get that instant gratification of watching something become clean without having to worry about trying to clean things in real life and my kitten getting in the way. It has been like...
That's for the sequel. They're going to add cats.
There we go.
You can't accidentally spray them.
There we go. That's what they got to do.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
It's been really nice. Like when I first got the game, I was like, yeah, I'll play it for like 10 minutes and then put it down. And now I'm like 3 hours later. Oh no, I have to go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes it a really enjoyable experience. We've talked about this before, but it can be that sort of almost like mobile game experience where you jump in for 10 minutes and jump out, but you can also sit there and marathon for a while if you want. I mean, my hand would eventually get tired. I was playing it on PC with a mouse, and so my hand would eventually get tired doing that. So I did have to take breaks, but it is really fun to just jump in. Here's 10 minutes. I can play this, and I can listen to something in the background, and it's just a very relaxing experience doing it.
Yeah, and I love that I just keep it on mute because at least when I put it on mute, there wasn't a soundtrack other than just the power wash noises. So I'm like, okay, I can just like throw on YouTube or put on a movie and do this, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Great. Anything else?
That's been it. I'm amazed that I had time to do that, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you found some time for something that relaxes you, right?
Now that I have the proper tools.
All right, Ryan.
So the only real thing I've played lately is I tried out Doom 64.
Oh, okay.
So basically, like, I was at a friend's house. Friend had to take a nap. And so while they're doing it, I was playing on their Switch, and like I tried out Doom 64.
This is a very Seinfeld-like situation. Your friend falls asleep and you play with their toys.
Basically. So here's what I'll say good about it. I do like how the game looks. It's like a good-looking N64 game to me, and it actually looks really nice I played it handheld. It looks really nice on the Switch screen. Like, and I get, like, it's dated at this point, but in a way that's, like, very charming. It wasn't like it took me out of it as, like, oh, this is an ugly N64 game. No, this is, like, for what it is, it's still like, really neat to look at. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, aesthetically, it was really neat in that, like, they caught the bleakness of Doom, maybe even more so than, like, the first levels of, like, the original Doom did. I need to still play all the way through Doom. I think I just played the first game, because there's like 5 games within it.
Like the first episode.
Yeah, I think I just played through the first episode. But But like that one, I think like pumped up on like it being an action game. This one felt more like horror. Like as soon as I looked at how the environments looked, and I liked the bleak aesthetic of it. I think more than the other one, this kind of made me think of like what kind of moving through like an alien movie or something. How, and one more other good thing to say, like I do like how it controls on the Switch. I still prefer like having like the Nintendo Pro controller and using that to move around on the screen, but the Switch screen actually it aiming at things feels very focused on that. And like the Switch handheld actually is like I felt like was a very nice way of playing Doom, and like now I kind of want to go back and play regular Doom with that and see how that feels.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who swear by Doom 64, and I don't feel like I feel like I maybe have touched it once, but like never really sat down and tried to play it. But they swear by it being like the superior Doom of the original Doom and Doom 2. That 64 is like the idealized version.
I don't feel that way. So like I said, like good, like I was singing praises about certain things, but if you're asking me as like game playing experience ultimately, I still think like it's much more interesting to move your way through like the levels of the original 1993 Doom. And granted, I like got through like I finished one chapter of one episode of this, but already it didn't feel quite as interesting to move. I just kind of felt like I was bumping around through a level until I found where I needed to get to. Whereas it was kind of a treat to figure out like the layout and like the labyrinthine feel of like levels in Doom 1993. And by the second level, I was like at a puzzle that was like, I felt like it kind of got what it was doing, but it felt like I was just like doing things to see what stuck, to see what worked until I got through it. It wasn't like a fun puzzle to figure out or anything. I think it was like something like there was a key on a space that was too high for you to get to, and you have to keep like finding certain switches and stuff, and it will go on like progressively like lower spots, or it'll just keep moving to a different spot. And it was like I was already at this point, and I was already like kind of just annoyed with the game. Whereas Doom, it was really fun to see the way the levels kept changing up things on you. This like it was by the time I was at the second level, like I enjoyed the aesthetics and stuff of it, but as much as I enjoyed the aesthetics of the first level, and maybe I thought they were like maybe more interesting than what I got like in the first level of the original Doom, there was by that time though multiple levels that I still would like go above the first level on Doom 64, and I just got so annoyed with the second puzzle. And granted, I need to give it more of a chance. I need to play it a little bit more. I do want to play it more. I'll give it that much. But like, if you're asking me like if what holds up better just from the get go, I definitely still say it's the original Doom. Like I said, like I was surprised by how well Doom held up when I played it. Like Resident Evil 4 is still like my favorite like shooter type of game, but like Doom is close up there, like original Doom.
All right. Anything else?
No, I mean Tetris to de-stress, and I guess I will say I finally have like fallen off of Marvel Snap, and I haven't played it for weeks, so I guess one of the big news is what I haven't been playing there. Like, I've finally had my fill of that. And
I feel like Marvel Snap has gotten to a point where the meta of the game, of like learning like the perfect combination of setting up a deck and everything, has taken me out of wanting to play it as much. Because I feel like I don't want to engage with that. Like, I just want to be able to sit down and casually play, and I find it's getting more and more challenging to just sit down and casually play without, going on YouTube and watching videos about, well, this is the perfect deck if you want to play this way, and that just doesn't interest me. Diehard fans, I'm sure, are eating it up, but it doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I mean, I like some of the meta stuff, but I think it got to the point where I tried a lot of the types of decks I wanted to play. And there's other decks I still can try out, but they're not ones I want to use more just because I don't want to make the experience less fun for the other player. And like some of the decks I can think of are like the decks that make it hard for the other player to even play cards. And I kind of find that annoying when I'm in a situation I can't quite even play the cards. Like there's some things I like doing. Like I sometimes like messing with people, like using Spider-Man. Like if he's going to copy in another location, I think it's cool to like web up a couple locations, or if it's like only play on this space on turn 5, and then I web that space up on turn 4. Sometimes that's like fun, but like overdoing it like by making every turn and every card you have to make it as hard for the other player to play as possible, that's not something I really enjoy doing. So, like, and that's what it feels like some of the leftover stuff for me to try is. And I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing. I'm sure there's stuff I can try more of, or I can, like, better and improve my decks. But, like, I feel like for what the game has done, I feel like it's not, like, those differences aren't, like, interesting enough for me to want to keep playing. Like,
Sure.
so I just feel like it, and there's a good chance I will come back to it at some point. But right now, I've had my fill.
All right. OJ, are you playing any?
No, I haven't really been playing Marvel Snap at all.
Okay.
I want to. I have a huge affinity for Agatha Harkness, and I want to play through until I get her. But she's pretty in the advanced cards that you receive, so I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't had a whole lot of time.
Okay. I knew you at one time were playing quite a
Yeah,
bit. So, Ryan, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, like, the main thing was Doom 64 and honestly Tetris, but there's nothing new for me to say about Tetris at this point. So, I mean, there's not anything new I think I could ever say about Tetris, but I've said my feelings on that. They're the same. It's a game I love, and while Marvel Snap took its place for a little bit, Tetris is back. So,
All right. OJ, what have you been playing?
So I've had a really busy couple of weeks, and I haven't really been playing much of anything. But I did want to talk about the Gamer Lounge at SalukiCon. So Mario and I worked to put together the Gamer Lounge, and that's gay as in Gaymer, Gamer Lounge. And every year we've done something a little bit different. The biggest thing we did this year is we had leaderboards. So it was Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, Mario did a quick tutorial on how to do a 16-star speed run on Super Mario 64. And that was really interesting. I've never seen anybody actually talk through the things that you do. So that was really awesome. And then we had people. They had 10 minutes to see how many stars they could get in Super Mario 64. The winner was 6 stars, I think. But a lot of people had never played it before, and so they were just playing around and trying to figure out what they could get. And then on Saturday also, we had a Tetris leaderboard. So I have new stuff to say about Tetris. Right. But yeah, so we had people coming in, and they, on one life, to see how many lines they could get. And we were doing I believe, the NES version of it. Or was it Super Nintendo? I think it might have been Super Nintendo, actually, now that I think about it. But it was one of the older versions on the Switch. And so it was like 146 or something that somebody got.
Dang.
Yeah. And then one person came in, and it was a man with his daughter, and she was maybe 5 or 6. And he had one controller, and she had the other one. And he was like, okay, so turn it, and then drop it. And telling her what to do, and they were playing together, and they made it pretty far. They were probably second place, I think, actually. So that was pretty awesome. The person
normally think of that as a co-op game,
right? Exactly. But I thought it was pretty awesome. They worked really, really well together. Let's see. So that was what we did on the first day. The second day, the leaderboards, we did F-Zero X on the N64, and it was Mute City. And it's because it's kind of impossible to lose on that one. And so we just had people. We did a time trial to see who can make it through, and then we had a Smash Brothers Ultimate tournament, which was really awesome. It brought a lot of people in too. And one of the highlights of the whole con for me is that there was someone was doing a Columbo cosplay.
Oh, that's great.
And so when she came in, and I saw what she was wearing, I was like, oh, wait, is that Castiel? And then I was like, no, the tie is wrong. Is it Constantine? No, not quite. Right. But then she started talking, and I was like, oh, it's Columbo. And it was like very clear that it was Columbo when she started talking. So I thought it was really awesome. And then so she came in both days as Columbo, and it was just fantastic. It was perfect. It was a perfect cosplay of Columbo. And she had a book, and it was Peter Falk. Is that his last name? I think.
Yeah.
It was Peter Falk's biography, but wrote Columbo on it just so people would know, because he was dressed as Columbo on the cover anyway. But
Yeah,
that was fantastic. But the whole con was really great. On Saturday, I think it was busier than Eclipse Con, the first one that we had, which had been the busiest so far. So Sunday was slower, but Sunday and cons are a lot slower generally anyway. All the big stuff was on Saturday, but it was really, really busy. I was very excited. And apparently it's going to be Eclipse Con again, so we'll have a lot more people from around the country in the area coming to it, so it'll be pretty busy. But yeah, the Gamer Lounge was really nice. It was a good way to end it for me because Mario's going to be taking over next year, and I'm not going to be putting it together. So I think it was a really awesome way for me to have my last Gamer Lounge. I mean, I'll be a part of Saluki Con probably, but not as putting it at the Gamer Lounge. So I was really excited about it.
And that sounds like a great transition to have him come in and be part of it and, start trying out, like, how's the speed running and leaderboard stuff going to work. And, then you can build off of that next year. Or he can, I guess.
Yeah.
As the case may be. Yeah. That sounds great. Is that it? Anything else?
I've just been playing a bunch of idle games on my phone, stuff that I can just sit down and not look at for a while.
That's good this time of year, right?
Yeah.
Just check in, write for 20 minutes and then check in.
Yeah.
See how your egg farm is doing.
Yeah. Actually, Egg Inc. had a really big update this week.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So talking about egg farms. Yeah, it had a really big update. So I played Egg Inc. for a couple of years now, I think. And there's contracts that show up every week. And so you get together with a group of people, and you have to produce a certain amount of eggs. And there's 3 levels in each of the contracts. But they changed the whole contract system now, so people are graded on how well they do in it, and then it starts matching people with people who are closer to them in grade. And so nobody started with a AAA grade, but they took the grading for eggs and they put it to people in here. But it's a AA was the highest anyone started initially as, and I started as the highest one, so I was really excited about that. And then moved to AAA after the first contract came through. So I thought it's really nice because sometimes I would get in a co-op with people and I would be the only one who is producing all the eggs, which I don't necessarily mind, but it takes longer. So it takes the full 6 days for the contract rather than if everyone's working really fast, it can be done in one day.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you mentioned. I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it.
Well, I was thinking of Eggs Inc. when I made the reference to egg farming, but I didn't know they had made an update. So.
Yeah.
These games sound excellent.
You're fired.
Yeah, even I can't laugh at that one.
OJ is going to beat you up so badly.
To be fair, I think I stole that one from Vincent Price.
You're going to be egged in the parking lot is what's going to happen.
with what's a big bird? What has a big
Dodo.
egg?
Well, I guess they're extinct.
Ostrich?
Yeah.
Ostrich egg. There you go.
Face is going to look
Yes,
scrambled.
with
after this.
an extinct egg. OJ's first thought is, let's use extinct eggs.
That's how serious I am.
I was thinking of Sesame Street when he brought up Big Bird.
Also, I'm rewatching Buffy, and
Big Bird does have a nest.
I'm watching Buffy, and we just had I'm in second season, so the second season egg episode was last night too, with little crawly face hugger type things.
Oh yeah. It's the second season when Buffy gets really good.
Yeah.
That first season, when I tell people to watch Buffy, they start watching that first season. They're like, "Really? This is good?" And I'm like, "No, it gets so much better."
Yeah.
That first season struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think season 2 was way better, and I like season 3 a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from there on, it gets good. It's just that first season that's really kind of struggling, right?
Yeah. And I generally rewatch it every year, maybe every other year. But that first season is a little rough to get through. But once I hit 2, and then especially 3, it's a lot easier.
So when you get through 3, are you going to start mixing and watching Angel with it?
So I've done that before. I'm not 100% sure if I will. I really don't like Angel. Not just that the show is okay. I don't like Angel as a character.
Okay.
So it's kind of rough. So sometimes I just watch the specific episodes that relate to Buffy.
Poor David Boreanaz.
He's one of our major fans, and he's listening. He's crying right now because he has posters of OJ and he just ripped one of them up.
Look, he's already really good at brooding, and now you've given him a reason to brood.
So I will say I love David Boreanaz with much passion. So if you're listening, David Boreanaz, I love you. I don't like how Age of was written.
That's fair.
Just having like a community moment with like, I love you in IMDb.
Like I know there's people that are like in retrospect, like the whole relationship with Angel and Buffy was kind of creepy. Like
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues with those two shows. Like if you really start, deconstructing them, there's a lot of issues. And then when you find out what was going on behind the scenes, you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of makes sense.
like vampires and romance, just going to always go. Like a lot of those going like like Twilight. I didn't watch Twilight, but I know of the issues and.
Yeah.
Twilight made it worse than normal, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah, I know enough about Twilight to know that it's a terrifying thing that to exist.
Yeah.
Alicia, do you have something you want to share?
Nope. Just agreeing on the Twilight fact.
All right. I'll talk real quick about two things that I have played. I haven't played a lot of either of these games. I kind of dipped into them. The first one is Minecraft Legends. So this is the Minecraft real-time strategy game. It is a sort of Pikmin style game. So like you are controlling a character sort of down on the ground with the player. So it's not like a God mode, you overlooking everything happening. And it is not as good of a game as Pikmin is. It is just, it reminds me of, a lot of Minecraft Dungeons, the like sort of Diablo style slasher game that they put out a year or two ago, where it just felt like such a stripped down version of that genre. You just thought, well, there's better versions of this. If I want to play this style of game, there are better ways to play this style of game. And that was my reaction playing it as well, playing Minecraft Legends, that as I was playing it, I just kept thinking, there's better real-time strategy games. I'd rather play Pikmin than play this. I'd rather play, Total Annihilation or play, any of those style of games than sit and play this one. I'd rather go back and play Warcraft, So it's not a terrible game. It's, I think they know their market, and I think they're targeting these towards kids, making games that are maybe a bit stripped down so that it's like baby's first real-time strategy game or something. And I don't mean, I say that as a joke. I don't mean that to be dismissive because, that can come off as like dismissive towards the people who are playing it and everything. And I don't mean it that way, but it very much is like an introduction. And I just don't think it's worth the effort. There are better games to play, and I think better ways to get introduced to those genres.
Gotcha.
Redfall, which again, I'm going to say I've played very little of. Redfall is the game that when Microsoft announced it, it looked like it was going to be another Left 4 Dead, and you were going to have 4 characters and run through levels killing vampires instead of zombies. It wishes it was that. This is an open world game that is borrowing very heavily from Borderlands. So it's like a looter shooter. And as you play through this game, it's just so weird. This is a game that looks and plays very much like it came out prior to Borderlands. Like, it did not learn the lessons from Borderlands. It's not building off of that. It predates Borderlands. And so you're in this like New England town, and the town is pretty neat looking in some ways. Like there's a movie theater and your base is out of this a fire station. And it's kind of neat, but there's just not a lot to do. And when you do have things, it's like, okay, well, here's a few vampires. Now shoot them a lot and then run up and stake them. And that's the game. over and over and over again.
So is that why they apologized?
Yeah, so we'll get into that in the news, but yeah, they have apologized because this does not feel like a first-party AAA game, which is very much how they've been marketing this. This is a $70 game.
Holy moly.
And this feels like a game from 10 to 15 years ago to start with.
Yikes.
Right? Like it feels like a game out of time. And then even when you do play it, like if you can get over that fact, there's bugs and stuff, but like a lot of games launch with bugs. I'm not even going to hold that against it. My bigger thing is it's just boring to play. And again, I would say the same thing like with Minecraft Legends, except this very clearly is not targeted towards like kids in the way a Minecraft game is. But it very much feels like, hey, have you never played one of these games before or seen one of these types of games before? Well, then this will be a total revelation to you, I guess.
Is Borderlands too spicy for you?
Right. A game that you can pick up for like less than $10 now. So like your money would be better spent buying Borderlands than this, right? Like it's available on the Switch and, every other conceivable platform. Like go play Borderlands instead of playing this is my reaction. And it's a shame because this is coming from Arcane. This is a very, talented studio that's made lots of interesting games. It's sort of, it feels like there's a bigger story behind this game. Like something went wrong in development. They were forced to rush this game out. They knew it wasn't finished. Something has gone wrong with this game. I don't want to speculate because what do I know about actually making video games? That's not what I do. But it has that feeling of you watch it, you're sitting there playing it, and it's like watching a movie that you feel like, man, behind the scenes, there's a really cool story about what went wrong with this movie.
Yeah.
And while you're playing this, you feel like there's an interesting story about what went wrong with this game behind the scenes.
You want the disaster artist for this.
Yeah, like make that interactive and playable, right? Like play through a version of this game where they explain what went wrong with it.
Do it as a visual novel.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of disappointment about Redfall.
Yeah.
I didn't read but I saw that they apologized for it, and I was like, oh man, that can't be good.
Yeah, so let's just transition into that with the news. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has come out and publicly apologized for this game, which is not something that game console manufacturers often do, right? Like, when's the last time you remember Nintendo publicly apologizing for one of their games? And, sometimes we get this because there's a bug or there's some issue with a game, an overloading of the servers when a multiplayer game launches. But like apologizing for the quality of a game, this game is not at the level that we expect it to be. And
the fact that it's the head of Xbox, like it's not the people who made the game
Right.
apologizing, it's the people making the console you play it on apologizing.
right, and now they are owned by Xbox, so they are a first-party developer at this point. So, I mean, I suppose the buck does stop at the top of Xbox, but yeah, you're right. This is not a statement coming out from the developers themselves. This is their boss coming out and apologizing.
That's a look.
Yeah, and they have said they're going to continue to support it, but like this game had bad sort of mojo going with it before it even launched. They came out and said it would not have a performance setting at launch, so it was only going to have a quality setting. So what that means is on an Xbox Series X, this game only runs at 30 frames per second. There's not an option to run it at 60 frames per second. And
Wow.
that doesn't matter to everyone. Like, and I'm not sure how many people actually really care about that sort of stuff. But among diehard fans, they care quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so there was already a black eye on this game before people got to play it. And then it came out and, like, I guess for me, like when I look at a game like this, I sort of think this either has to be really fantastic or it has to be really scary, right? And people who want to play a really scary game will forgive that it's not the best game if it's kind of scary, right? It's got those great visuals, like Ryan was talking about with Doom 64. If it has that great design and everything, this doesn't really have that, and it's not really a great shooter. So the question becomes, why would anyone play this? Which is a damning remark to make about a game, but like I think that's an issue that a lot of these games face now. Is there's so much competition out there, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor just released. Breath of the Wild comes out next week. Well, not Breath of the Wild.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild 2
Electric Boogaloo
comes out next week. And so there's so many good games coming out right now. Why would you play this game other than it's free on Xbox Game Pass?
This is like the Milhouse Van Houten's dad of video games.
I don't know who that's meaner to.
Maybe like the new theme song for Redfall can be "Can I Borrow a Feeling?"
Yeah. I think this is playing into a bigger issue that a lot of people are talking about with Xbox, that Xbox is not having those big hits and hasn't had those big hits in a while. And, certainly we've talked on here before about Halo Infinite, which is a very good very good single player game, I think. And I think the multiplayer is pretty good, but there was just no support for that game. Like they just dropped it basically after it came out. And so that's left a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Obviously, I just talked about Minecraft Legends. That's an Xbox developed game. I think that actually did come out on other systems. I think maybe that's on Switch and some other things. But again, that's a letdown. There was a long dry spell of them just basically not releasing any games. And then, here's one of their big games for this year, and it's come out, and this isn't just people being indifferent, which happens to a lot of games. This is people being actively, we don't like this game.
At least fall was like a fitting word to have in the title.
Redfall is more like it.
Red Ring of Death Fall.
Oh, yeah, that's very Xbox appropriate. But yeah, this is a bad times for Xbox. Mm-hmm. And I say that as an owner of an Xbox, so I'm not anti-Xbox. I own an Xbox. I like that system.
PlayStation crew for life.
I like Game Pass. I think Game Pass is an incredible value, but they've got to figure out what's going on with their first-party games, both getting those games out more often and making them of higher quality. So there's some very down, depressing news. Let's talk about some happier news. The Strong Museum of Play is creating a playable 20-foot-tall Donkey Kong arcade cabinet.
I just want to go do this so
Yeah,
badly.
me too.
Like that
Field trip.
sounds amazing. Yes, field trip. Let's go.
I think maybe we mentioned this off air. We talked about this, but the Strong Museum of Play is widely considered to be one of the top 2 video game museums, and it's not a full video game museum, but they have a pretty extensive exhibit there on video games. The other one is the National Video Game Museum, which is in Texas somewhere. I forget exactly where. But this is really cool. One of the things I know that I've heard some people who are into the preservation of games and have talked about how do we put video games into museums. One of the big issues has been, how do you present video games in a museum? Do you just have an arcade in there? Or do you have to think of clever ways to present, this material and everything? And so I think this sounds like a clever way of doing that, right? How do you take this game that's about a gorilla climbing a construction work site and everything and make it feel properly epic and scaled? And okay, you scale it up. You build a gigantic arcade cabinet, the size of Donkey Kong. And so I think that's a pretty clever solution that they have for it.
was just thinking, how big is each like bit gonna be? Because like it's an 8-bit game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how big is each of those squares gonna be?
Each pixel?
Yeah.
I mean, each pixel, like, I don't know. It would be almost like a foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're little square pixels.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. In the original arcade cabinet, they might have been more rectangular pixels. Pixels
Just
are
like-
different sizes.
Yeah.
Can we switch the music back and forth between classic DK music and the DK rap? That's what we need.
I would assume if you're building a gigantic Donkey Kong cabinet, you would at least have an exhibit with the DK rap, particularly after the Mario movie. Right? You would want to have something like that. Let's see. Sega of America workers are asking for voluntary recognition by management for their union. So they have not officially voted to like unionize, but they're looking at forming a union. They're asking Sega of America to go ahead and voluntarily recognize that. This is just a continuing of a story trend that we've talked about, which is more and more game studios are getting unionized. And it started a lot with Q&A teams, but we're seeing it expand out into all the employees at game studios. This is, I think, a generally good trend, we all think. More workers to unionize and stand up for their rights, particularly with some of the abuse that we've seen and talked about in the game industry. Sounds like a net positive. Let's see. Alicia, just for you. Funko Fusion.
Yay.
Coming from former Traveler's Tales developers who make the Lego games. They're making a Funko game. I think they've made a Funko game. Somebody has made a Funko game before, but they're making a new Funko game. This one is going to, much sort of like the Lego Dimensions game that borrowed all these different franchises. This is also going to borrow a bunch of different franchises. The ones that they've mentioned so far are Umbrella Academy, which I got to say is a weird one in this mix, or was to me.
This whole list is kind of a weird one, I think. I mean, I'm not against it, but...
Back to the Future, Jurassic World, The Thing, Child's Play, which is, again, also really kind of weird in there. I guess The Thing and Child's Play are both kind of weird. Like, you have these horror movies in the mix. And then Masters of the Universe. There's going to be more properties, but those are the ones that they've announced so far.
Marty McFly versus Chucky.
It's the battle we've all always wanted.
Skeletor and Chucky team up to finally defeat He-Man.
Oh, man.
Are
Funko
you-
Pops make me so uncomfortable. Just the black eyes just are so uncomfy for me. I'm like, I think I said this in the group chat when you sent this trailer to us, and I was like, I don't think I've ever hated a game trailer as much as I hate this one.
Interesting.
Like, I'm down for the concept. I love, crossovers, bringing weird things together that don't seem like they would go together and making it work. I just wish it wasn't Funko Pops.
Yeah, I'm always a little hesitant to really rag on Funko Pops because I know they're obviously popular and somebody is buying them and collecting them.
More power to those people.
But I hate Funko Pops. I think they look hideous. So I think making a video game where you copy that design just seems so like you could have made this look like anything and almost anything would be better than the Funko aesthetic. So, I mean, it's an automatic turnoff for me just for that reason.
Like, I'm not as offended by the Funko. Like, I think they're fine for what they're... And there's sometimes I've been tempted to get a Funko just because it's not something I expected to see a Funko of. Like, I did not expect to see Blade Runner Funkos. But I stopped myself from getting those because I know that'll be kind of the thing if I keep getting them if I get one. But also, I don't want an entire video game of things that look like Funkos, though. I'm not that into the design. Like, it's okay. I don't care that much.
I also feel like, this is behind the times. This is the problem that you run into, I think, a lot of times with the development time for a video game. So you get this license and you work on this game for 3 years, and 3 years later, when your game's coming out, everybody's like, no, Funko Pops are kind of on clearance now. Like, this is not the hit thing that it was 3 years ago. And even then, it kind of felt like it was probably beginning on the downturn, right? This feels like if you were like, hey, let's make a Beanie Babies
That's
game.
what I was just thinking.
Yeah. But at least a Beanie Babies game would be cute.
That's true.
Funko is just uncomfortable.
You could have that Princess Diana bear in there.
There you go. There you go.
Although I am intrigued by the idea of like the Thing and how that would cross over with Jurassic World. Like that'd be some cool monster stuff.
I will say too, like, why don't we have an Umbrella Academy game that's not Funko Pop?
Exactly.
Like
I would
that.
love one.
That would be just something that should exist on its own.
Yeah, I mean, is that show over? Was the third season the final season?
No.
Okay,
I think it's still going.
They're doing one more season? Because I know they did at one point announce this is the end.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know if it's the end, but the end of the last season didn't seem like an end.
Okay.
It seemed like the beginning of a next season.
Yeah, I still haven't watched season 3, but I feel like I remember them announcing seasons 3 and 4 together.
Okay, maybe that's the fourth season is going to be the last. I thought they had announced a definite end for that show and everything. All right, this is kind of probably the biggest news, but I kind of buried it a bit. Bury the lead here. The UK CMA, which is the Competition and Market Authority, has blocked Microsoft's Activision purchase. So this is the equivalent of our FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and they have to approve this deal, and they have said, no, we're not approving it. We are rejecting it. You cannot do this deal for another 10 years. You cannot reapply to do this deal for another 10 years. Microsoft can appeal that decision, but apparently there's not a very high success rate for appealing these decisions. So, I guess we're kind of left in limbo right now, but it seems more likely than not at this point that this deal won't go through when for most of this time it seemed very likely that this deal would go through.
Okay, so this is where I'm confused. Are Microsoft and Activision based in the UK?
No.
I thought they were US based, so why I'm like, I don't like, obviously I get why it's a big deal that the UK organization is blocking it, but I'm like, wouldn't the US organization be the one with that power?
So my understanding is that if you are one of these very large companies and you have offices around the world and you are there's probably a Microsoft UK business entity, right, that operates there and in order to manage all their sales and everything in the UK. That because of that, they have the right to approve or disapprove of this deal.
Okay, so they would need to get approval from all of them, from UK and US and wherever else.
And the European Union, those are the three big ones, US, UK, and European Union.
Okay.
And since the UK left the EU, they have to get approval from them now as well.
Yeah.
Or separately, I guess.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty big deal. I mean, this falling apart, and I think a bigger deal for Activision than Microsoft, because Microsoft will just kind of move on forward, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, this kind of hurts them when it comes to having games to put out, as we were talking about earlier. But for Activision has been very motivated to sell, and when you look at Activision as a company, you kind of get a pretty good idea why they're motivated to sell. They have one game, Call of Duty, and they're really not making any other games. Blizzard is putting out Diablo 4 this year, but then
But also, how many of us still don't care to support Blizzard?
right. Well, I mean, and then there's all the internal problems, right? With the harassment and mistreatment of employees and everything else that's gone on there.
Yeah, they need new upper management if they're going to have any chance at. I mean, we've talked about this before. They need new upper management if there's going to be any chance of people believing that anything has changed.
Right.
And so if they can't sell, what do you do?
Yeah, I think to a lot of people, this seemed like a way to cut part with the past, right? And like kind of move on and make a fresh start. And there was still going to be a lot of work to do for Activision and Blizzard, but at least you could clear out a lot of the upper management and, kind of start anew. And, now if this deal falls through, like, who does that? Because the upper management are the ones still running the place. So they have little incentive to clear house. Plus, the company's already floundering. So when the company's floundering, it's maybe not the best time to come in and clear house.
Yeah.
Because it just may precipitate that even more. So, I mean, there are reasons to have been against this deal, but there are certainly consequences for the deal falling apart. Let's see. PSVR 2 has finally been released to physical retailers, so theoretically you can walk into a store and actually buy it in person now instead of having to buy it through Sony's digital storefront, which seems like it's one of those stories you read and you go, what? This was not physically available before?
I say I never would have, I saw this, I was like, what? Hang on.
Yeah, I would think physical hardware you would want into a store. That's the one thing that stores are better at still. Yeah. When you can buy your games digitally, you can't buy hardware digitally. Let's see. The Super Mario Brothers movie has now passed $500 million domestically and over $1 billion worldwide. It is the highest grossing release of this year. Yay,
That's just
Mario.
Crazy. That's just, I can't even fathom that much money.
Of course now we're grad students.
That's more money than all the grad students have seen together.
Yeah.
That's about 500 million more than all the money that I've seen.
It was good for what it was. I just wish that Chris Pratt wasn't at the head as Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see more of him because they are definitely making a Super Mario Brothers movie too, and probably about 20 different spin-offs. I mean, I'm sure we're getting a Donkey Kong movie and all sorts of stuff.
This is the superhero cinematic universe dies. This is what takes over.
Well, I mean, Universal is doing this, and Universal doesn't have superheroes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't have Marvel. They don't have DC. So, like,
They tried to do their MonsterVerse, but I think that kind of
died.
They did. I think they still technically, have some sort of ownership of the Hulk, but what are they going to do without, access to the whole MCU? Nobody's going to want to watch, the Hulk just play by himself.
Yeah, my understanding of that deal is, they can't put out a Hulk movie by themselves.
Oh, okay.
But neither can Marvel or Disney, right? So they kind of have to work together to put one out.
Hulk can smash anything except the limbo that he's in.
Right, it's kind of a mess with that. But they don't have that sort of big property, right, to create the cinematic universe. And yeah, you're right. They tried that dark universe with all the classic Marvel or Universal monster movies, and
that fell apart
instantly.
I'd say it barely existed.
The first movie they released of that fell apart.
Don't get me wrong, I grew up on the Universal horror movies. I have a love for those characters. One of my favorite games is a game called Horrified, where you're fighting off the Universal monsters. But that's one of my favorite board games. But I don't know how well those characters work now for the most part, except in some things. But I don't want to see all those monsters fighting over international conflicts to save the world or destroy the world in modern day.
We don't need Godzilla versus King Kong with this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. This is we're getting sort of off topic, but that's the reason the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie works.
Yeah,
setting that movie in the past works for that, and you try to make a Mummy movie today, as they did with Tom Cruise, it just comes off kind of goofy
and on cruise control.
Yes, fair.
I stole that joke from The Critic, to be fair. Poor
Man, poor OJ. He's already sick, and now he has to spend all this energy left to beat you up. I feel really bad for him. For him, not you. For him.
If I have to do it now, I have a better shot of getting away.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously this is a huge blockbuster. I mean, if you're thinking from the perspective you want to see more video games translated into movies and television, then certainly the 1-2 punch of this and The Last of Us has really accelerated that, I feel like. And it does feel like sort of that Iron Man, Batman Begins moment, right?
Yeah.
Where like you have these hits come out and everybody's like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess it was The Dark Knight that came out the same.
I'll say Batman Begins was 2006. Dark Knight and Iron Man were both 2008.
Yeah.
I look forward to that moment when like he has to like snap his fingers like it's a me, Mario. And then like Chris Pratt's Mario is like dead and we have to move on.
Give me Pedro Pascal Mario. I still watch the SNL Mario Kart trailer like on the regular because it just makes me happy.
If they're not willing to kill Mario, maybe they can do a Mario multiverse and we can just move on to focusing on like a different Mario.
You get Dr. Mario.
It's a different Mario every time he dies, right? Like Mario comes back, but it's a different multiverse Mario.
Time Lord rules. Like that's how multiple lives work in this like cinematic universe.
Yeah, there you go.
I look forward to Vincent
we need
D'Onofrio's Mario.
We need Tom Baker playing Mario. Let's see, Forza Motorsport. This is the new like whatever it would be, Forza Motorsport 7 or something, but like they're just retitling it with no number. But anyways, they're adding blind accessibility options to this. That uses sounds to guide players on the track and in order to shift gears. They put out a video showcasing this. It is really fascinating. So basically they are adding, so I don't know if you've ever been in one of these cars that has like lane assistance where if you like kind of cross out of the lane, it goes beep, beep. They're basically adding that into the game so that blind people are able to play Forza Motorsport, and they're also adding it so like it gives you a different sound when it's time to shift gears and like all these sorts of different cues and everything. Just really fascinating and really one of those things as you're watching it, you're going, they certainly did not have to do this or even I would even go so far as to say need to do this, right? But it's really awesome that they are doing it.
Yeah, this is like. From all this is the thing that I'm most happy about, most excited about.
That's really good, awesome.
Like this is something that, yes, let's normalize this. Let's make this keep happening.
Yeah, I mean,
and like hype them up and appreciate the fact that they did this.
Accessibility options in games have just made such leaps and bounds, particularly over the last decade. I would argue that again, if you don't have those sorts of issues, then, fantastic for you. But for the people who do, when you talk to somebody who's colorblind and the fact that so many games now have colorblind options, allow you to adjust the coloring. There are options for people to prevent them from getting motion sickness. I have a friend who can't play first person games. She gets motion sickness from it. And, they're now putting options in to try to mitigate that as much as possible. To even these, the Xbox accessibility controller, which lets you sort of customize with different functions so that, people can play, like allowing you to like breathe onto a controller in order to like control and that sort of thing. This is all fantastic as far as like opening up video games to a much wider audience.
And it's cool to think about like the ways that you can like make like other like different genres of games blind accessible. Like like I know like and you'd have to like maybe like alter the name of this genre, but like visual novels like that there's got to be ways to use audio in place of having people like see things as a way to like give people options and say this is what's going on. And
we do that with movies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or adding subtitles on things that are I've been my favorite Let's Player on YouTube, Bro Mithril. I've been rewatching his Spyro runs, and the first Spyro has no subtitles.
Right.
You just have to rely on listening to them. And so even the simple things like that just make this better for everybody.
And that used to be standard in games.
Yeah.
No subtitles.
No subtitles. You could maybe turn them on in some games, but
Right. But I mean, that was the standard for a long time. No subtitles, and then that was the first accessibility options I really started to see in games, where games started to add subtitles, which were useful to even people like me who don't have hearing issues or not significant hearing issues at least, because a lot of times I couldn't understand what somebody was saying in a game. And it was just useful to be able to have that on screen so I could go, oh, okay, that's what he said there.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously that was, I don't want to say that was easy, but it was certainly on the easier scale of things to fix in games.
Yeah.
Now seeing how far they've come, it's just really impressive. And, I don't want to give them too much credit because they can always do more and do better and help more people. But
I think we do need to give a lot of credit for the fact that they're doing anything.
right. And, certainly charities like Able Gamers have really pushed this hard and worked with these developers in a lot of cases, very hands-on, saying, hey, here's the sort of issues that we're dealing with. Here's ways that you could potentially make this easier for us. I know that colorblind options, a lot of times that's just been presets. You can choose between these 4 presets, and people who are colorblind are like, no, I need to be able to individually choose the colors and settle myself. Because your options don't, address my particular color blindness.
There's always more to do, but it's also really cool to be in a spot that we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. The PS5 has shipped more consoles in Q1 than any console in history. Street Fighter film has gotten directors. These are the directors from a film called Talk to Me. Ryan and Danny Philippou. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, so that's my guess. And then one last story here. Hogwarts Legacy has officially passed 15 million in sales. So we talked a lot about that game leading up to release. It's obviously been a bona fide runaway success, bigger than any of the past Harry Potter games. I think that probably says a lot about discourse online doesn't actually translate either into sales or against sales. So a lot of that discussion, I think, probably a lot of people simply weren't aware of any controversy surrounding this game and just went out and bought the game, right? So make of that what you will and everything. But that does it for news for us. So let's see. For our big question this week, we're going to play a little game.
For all you listeners, you need to understand, Justin sends this to us, and normally we see what the big question is. This time he just put name game. We have no idea what's coming right now.
It's the name game.
That's what I thought.
I thought it was gonna. I thought, oh gosh, no, the icebreakers.
No, you will never get that from me. I hate icebreakers.
Thank you.
So, no, so I thought, let's vary this up. We've done some things. We did the Mount Rushmore of game characters and everything. Let's kind of mix this up. Let's do something else a little different here. So we're going to play a game. And so what I've done is I've created a list of video game titles. These are all games for the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America. Except I'm going to redo a list of 3 game titles. One of these is not actually a game that was released for the NES. You're going to have to tell me which game was not released for the NES.
Is it a game that exists and was released on a different system, or is it a game that just straight up doesn't exist?
Many of them do not exist. Some of them might exist on other systems.
Okay.
So, and then we're going to keep count. We'll keep score and see which of the three of you does best and everything. So, are you ready?
Yes.
As I'll ever be.
All right. So, question 1. The candidates are Mario is Missing, Mario's Globetrot, and Mario's Time Machine. 2 of those are real NES games. 1 of those is not.
Can you repeat the third one again?
Mario is Missing, Mario's Globetrot, and Mario's Time Machine.
Go ahead.
I knew Mario's Time Machine was real. I thought that was Super NES.
My thought is we've got a consistent naming scheme with Mario's Globetrot and Mario's Time Machine. Mario is Missing is not consistent with that theme. So that's why I'm leaning towards Mario is Missing being the fake.
It's a real game, though, I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, because I've heard references and jokes about that one.
I think Mario's Globetrot is the one that didn't exist.
Because I've never heard of that. I've heard of Mario's Time Machine and Mario's Missing.
You can also vote separately, so you may not want to talk it out to each other.
Okay.
I thought we were.
Okay, I'm gonna-
We want to do teamwork, Justin.
You're right. You are absolutely right, Alicia. Never heard of it.
Of course, now, you have to consider, like, how advanced is Ryan in his thinking and his, like, game theory. Like, how much was he thinking ahead of how to sabotage you by talking about this very confidently? Ryan knows stuff, but, like, he's often not, like, that authoritative and confident in it. So, like...
But both of them were.
OJ's just a tag-along.
Yeah, I was just going to tag along with the human who they beat up after their podcast.
His fist tags along with my face.
Okay, I'm trusting y'all. I'll go with Mario's Globetrot.
That's my vote for the fake.
All right, all of you going with Mario's Globetrot?
Uh-huh.
All right, the answer is Mario's Globetrot. So 1 point for each of you.
So I knew about the time machine because I remembered going to a video rental store as a kid that was like a small niche one in my hometown, and that's how I found out that game exists because that was one of the. I think I even got that game and it didn't work right. I was mad.
All right, question 2. The game titles are Bible Quest, Bible Adventures, Bible Buffet. Bible Quest, Bible Adventures, Bible Buffet. 2 of those are real NES games. 1 of them is not.
Are we ready
I
to?
almost feel like it's too easy if it's Bible Buffet.
Are we ready to give our votes?
You can give your votes, and then if you want to talk it out after you vote it.
Mine is Bible Buffet.
Okay.
I feel like I've heard games with both the titles Bible Quest and Bible Adventure. So
Locking in his vote.
I could be wrong. I could very much be wrong. Bible Buffet almost sounds like so goofy that like it has to exist.
OJ, what are your thoughts?
So I'm 99% sure that my friend in grade school had Bible Quest and Bible Adventure. So I think Bible Buffet is the incorrect one, but I'm not. I'm very confident, but not 100% confident.
That's how I feel.
So Ryan and OJ both say Bible Buffet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Bible Buffet is just so out there. I'm gonna go with Bible Buffet.
It's the grim sequel to Noah's Ark.
All right. Now, you all voting alike doesn't help you if one of you gets it like right or wrong.
That's true. Okay, I'll just go different for sake of being different. I'll do Bible Adventures.
All right. 2 Bible Buffets, 1 Bible Adventures. All 3 of you are wrong. It's Bible Quest.
Bible Quest,
Okay.
All right. Question 3. Gilligan's Island,
The visual novel.
The Goonies, and The Goonies 2. Gilligan's Island, The Goonies, and The Goonies 2.
Oh. I have no idea. I'm sure there's a Goonies video game.
I'm leaning Gilligan's Island.
I am
I
also,
feel like Goonies is the kind of thing that they would have just made a video game sequel for the heck of it.
I could see that, but at the same time, like, there's like some cases of people getting some weird IP and doing a video game about it, and like I could see somebody like, let's do Gilligan's Island. Why the fuck not? Sorry, that was a big curse word on this podcast.
There's actually a new Inspector's Gadget game coming out soon. So yes, sometimes people get weird IPs and just make games.
I'm gonna guess Goonies 2 is the fake one.
All right.
OJ?
I just kind of want to believe there's a Gilligan's Island video game.
So I don't remember my youth all that well. It was a very long time ago. I vaguely remember though someone needing a hint on Goonies 2, and it was in a Nintendo Power magazine that I'd seen. So I'm going to say Gilligan's Island.
Alicia?
I said Gilligan's Island.
Oh.
All right. The non-NES game is The Goonies.
Wow.
Really?
I
Okay.
was about ready to guess first Goonies, but like, nah, there's gotta be.
You know, that would kind of make sense because the first Goonies was probably on like some type of computer or something, like a Commodore 64.
Okay.
Yeah. The Goonies 2 on NES is a sequel to a game called The Goonies. But it was very confusing as a kid that there was a Goonies 2, and you kind of looked around and went, where is the Goonies? I want to play the first one. So, yeah. Nobody got that one right. All right, moving on to question number 4. Wall Street Kid, the original Ghostbusters, Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom. Wall Street Kid, the original Ghostbusters, Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom.
Now I'm paranoid and I'm like, was Ghostbusters on a different system?
I'm pretty sure there was a Ghostbusters game.
I'm sure there was, but was it on?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go Ghostbusters and guess it was on another system. Could be Wall Street Kid.
Was it Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom? Was that what it? I'm
That's
gonna
the
guess that
title.
one.
Yeah.
I think the go ahead.
I was just saying I'm shooting in the dark here, but
I think the original Ghostbusters is the one that wasn't on NES.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
All right. The answer is the original Ghostbusters.
Let's go!
Alicia and OJ got that one correct.
I was like, Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom just sounds too wonderfully unique.
I specifically remember that game.
The original Ghostbusters, I don't think there's a game titled that at
Right.
all. That's There is a cartoon titled The Original
Yeah, that's-
Ghostbusters.
I totally thought you were adding the original to it.
No, I remembered the cartoon, and I figured I would have remembered a game that went with the cartoon because I love the cartoon so much.
I totally thought you were just
At an
adding
ape.
the original to be like, there's no, it wasn't Ghostbusters 2, it was the first one.
Yeah, there is a game called Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
which is very good on the Commodore 64. It's terrible on the NES, I believe. All right, question 5. 8 Eyes.
8, like the number 8?
Yes, the 8 Eyes, like eyes in my head. 10-Yard Fight and Lethal Edge. 8 Eyes, 10-Yard Fight, Lethal Edge. Which one of those is not a real NES game?
I'm going to guess 8 Eyes.
that's where I'm leaning.
Okay.
Lethal Edge is the one that didn't ring a bell for me.
I'm gonna guess Lethal Edge.
All right, so OJ, you're on Lethal Edge.
Uh-huh.
Ryan, you're saying Lethal Edge?
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow OG on this one.
All right. The answer is Lethal Edge.
I remembered 8-Eye, and I was pretty sure that 10-Yard Fight was something I remembered.
I was like, 10-yard fight sounds legit.
That was an arcade game first.
Okay, you said 10-yard fight, but now the way you just said it sounded like 10-year fight. Like who's going to get tenure?
I'd play that.
That'd be
Aren't
too
we all
real
going
for
to be
me.
playing that in a
Yeah,
few years?
that's fair. That's fair.
A visual novel.
That's real life. That's not a game.
Yeah.
All right. Question 6. Chronic Showdown, Pinball Quest, Dr. Chaos. Dr. Chaos. Chaos. Chronic Showdown. OJ hurt his throat
Yeah.
doing the chaos. Can't do that while you're sick. Yeah. Chronic Showdown, Pinball Quest, or Dr. Chaos. Which one of those is not an NES game?
Chronic Showdown just sounds like such a weird name. I'm leaning towards Pinball Quest because it sounds so generic, but like it could be similar to other things that actually exist, but maybe it doesn't.
We're getting a lot of dead air as the three of you think.
Sorry.
I guess I need to fill the air while the three of you think.
I guess you said Pinball Quest, Ryan.
Yeah.
I'll go with Chronic Showdown then.
And I'm going to go with Dr. Chaos, but I'm not confident.
You just want to say chaos.
Yeah. I wish I could.
All right. Alicia gets the point. It's Chronic Showdown.
I was about to guess that one. Just like, no, that sounds like one of those really weird titles that somehow exists.
I was like, that's totally in line with Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom.
I wrote that one down first, and I was like, no, that's not it. It's Dr. Chaos. Okay.
All right. Question 7. Taboo, The Sixth Sense, Mighty Bomb Jack, or Hockey? Taboo, The Sixth Sense, Mighty Bomb Jack, or Hockey?
I feel like just hockey is too plain.
I feel like there was a game that was just called Hockey, though. I don't know.
I'm going to go hockey. I think it's too plain.
Nintendo did release very basic sports games.
See, but when you say that, I think you're trying to throw me off.
What was...
Maybe.
There was Hockey, Taboo, The Sixth Sense. What was the other one?
Mighty Bomb Jack.
I'm leaning towards Taboo, The Sixth Sense.
I'm going to say Mighty Bomb Jack.
All right. The answer is Hockey.
Let's go!
I'm having a Mandela effect moment because I swear there's just hockey games.
That's what I thought, too. Like,
Okay.
All right. Question 8. Fester's Quest, Mega Man 7, or Zombie Nation? Fester's Quest, Mega Man 7, or Zombie Nation?
I don't think Mega Man 7 was released on... Maybe it was?
Yeah, I feel like 7 wasn't the NES.
I'm pretty sure I remember seeing Mega Man 8 for the PlayStation. And I don't remember there ever being a Mega Man 8 on like a Nintendo system.
I'm leaning
This is Mega Man 7, not Mega Man 8.
I know, but
I'm leaning Mega Man 7.
same.
And I'm gonna throw my vote there.
All right.
What were the three options again? I'm sorry.
Fester's Quest, Mega Man 7, and Zombie Nation.
I'm gonna go with Zombie Nation.
All right. The other two are going with Mega Man 7.
Yeah.
All right. It is Mega Man 7.
Let's go!
All right. Question 9. All right. You two need to come back against Alicia. She's running away with this. All right. Question 9. A Boy and His Blob, Mickey Mouse Misadventures, Ghoul School, A Boy and His Blob, Mickey Mouse Misadventures, or Ghoul School?
That was and his blob, not in his blob, right?
And
Okay.
his blob is with him.
Yeah, A Boy and His Blob was like a French New Wave film. I'm kidding. I mean, unless I'm not, that'd be awesome if I found out I was right.
Un garçon et son blob.
Directed by Jean-Luc Godard.
Trying to think.
Man, I would so watch that movie.
A new musical score by REO Speedwagon.
I'm trying to remember what system, like, all the, like, the Lion King game and Aladdin and that were on.
I'm
I
kind
can
of...
tell you those were Super Nintendo / Super Genesis.
Yeah.
But DuckTales and Tailspin and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers were all NES games.
That's true.
I'm leaning towards School.
Ghoul School.
Yeah.
I'll go with. Man, I don't. I feel like A Boy and His Blob is just so. It's like Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom. It feels real.
I don't know if anybody has ever said Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom feels real.
It's just it's like when you hear wild facts and you're like,
Maybe if
who made you can't have made up something this specific.
Maybe if you ate a salad with like the right mushrooms in it, you'd be like, that sounds so real, dude.
I'm gonna go Ghoul School as well.
Me too.
All right, everybody's going Ghoul School? Mm-hmm. The answer is Mickey Mouse Misadventures.
At least we took Alicia down with us.
So, was there a Mickey Mouse Adventures or something like that?
There were Mickey Mouse games.
Okay.
That sounded so much like it could have been one.
I knew A Boy and His Blob was real, though, because I really liked that game.
I felt like I'd heard of that title somehow.
Yeah.
So.
You throw him jelly beans, and he changes
That's great.
into things like ladders and holes and stuff.
He is absolutely right. And that game is really unique and weird
It really is, yeah.
and wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, final one here. I don't think any of you, you can't catch Alicia unless we want to make this worth more points for the final question. It's not particularly any harder. But,
Making more points, Alex.
Yeah.
all right, question 10. Gremlins, Yo-Noid, the Black Bass. Gremlins, Yo-Noid, the Black Bass. Now, Alicia, you can't be looking at your phone. Are you looking up answers?
No, I'm sorry. Someone on Discord was.
All right, you need to turn on your phone. We need to check your search history.
There you go.
I'm leaning towards Gremlins. I don't know if Justin has set me up though to feel like no, there's not going to be something based off this 80s properties. Ryan's like, oh nope, there was this time.
What is that second one?
Gremlins, Yo-Noid, Yo exclamation point, Noid, and the Black Bass.
I don't even know what Yo-Noid is supposed to mean.
I thought it was like a Domino's.
I'm like, what is
Pizza
Noid? What is Noid supposed to mean?
Yo-Noid was a character for Domino's Pizza.
Oh,
I
okay.
want pizza.
Well, in that case, I'm going the Black Bass. I feel like Domino's would have.
You think it's more likely that Domino's had a video game than a fishing game?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows fishing games weren't invented until Big the Cat was. That way Sega could sell their fishing games.
I'm guessing Gremlins, but I have a feeling that this is like I'm wrong on it, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
So one vote for Gremlins, one vote for the Black Bass.
I think I'm going to say the Black Bass.
All right, 2 votes for the Black Bass, 1 vote for Gremlins, and the correct answer is Ryan with the Gremlins.
Nice.
Wow.
I remembered Yo-Noid. It was a very confusing game.
I was like, that's just the kind of weird IP that would.
Yeah.
Once you said it was Domino's and I had any idea what it was, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yo-Noid is a reskin Japanese ninja game, and when they brought it to the U.S., they reskinned it with the Noid property.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a weird history. All right,
man.
final scores. OJ in third place with 3 points. Ryan in second place with 4 points. And winning, Alicia getting basically half of them, 5 out of 10, with 5 points.
Person who never had an NES.
So congratulations, Alicia. You won our first name game.
Yay, bragging rights.
Maybe we'll try this again with something else.
I'm disappointed at myself that I got last place. The one who lived through the NES.
Yeah, but I feel like, so like some of those you were calling out like, oh, I know, this is a real game. And then I feel like I would have been in very much the same situation. Like, no, like that could be it. There were really weird games back then. Like, of course they would have made a Gremlins game. Like, like why wouldn't they have made a Gremlins
The
game?
NES sounds like a surreal time. Like,
Oh, it was.
It's weird to go back and look at old game consoles because they really did make weird games. And we still get weird games today, but like we were getting some really weird titles for games. Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom has always been one of my favorites. Like just somebody went absolutely crazy with the name of that game.
Yeah.
I can't wait to look that up on Wikipedia. Or see if I can find a walkthrough on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
And Ryan, it's actually a game I think you would like. It's sort of a visual novel adventure game.
wow.
So
Okay.
I think actually you might like it. All right, that does it for this week. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Thank you, Ryan, Alicia, and OJ for joining me. We will be back soon with a new episode. Until then, check SalukiGames.com. We have past episodes up there and also all sorts of other things that we've done over the years. But thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon.